I got this brilliant question from Jimmy, a subscriber, asking what is the minimum amount of music theory and scales that he would need to play in a covers band, playing about 40 or so songs, not many aspirations beyond that. I've got this list here. 40 fairly common songs that you would learn on a gig like this. And best way to do this, I think, is I'm just going to take a few of the songs, play a bit, and as we go, you'll see the things you need to know. So first thing, Don't Stop Believing by Journey. Now that is the first crucial thing. The fact that bass lines are made up of scales and songs are built from keys, okay? So a key is like E major in that case. We're in the key of E major, you need to know that. And the bass line is built up from the notes of E major scale. So you must know your scales in different positions. I don't know if you clocked that, but I was playing the scale in quite a weird way there. Rather than, you know, in one position. That's because I love this pattern for gigs. A major scale on 2 strings. And I'll get into that by explaining this, the second thing, which is probably, I think, the biggest thing you can learn. The fact that a scale gives you a bunch of chords. I'm not going to go too much into the theory of this because I've got free lessons that you can watch after this. I'll link to that below, and a theory course that goes into all of this stuff. But you have an E major scale. I'll just go to the 6th note. I'm playing E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp. Whilst we're playing root notes, the guitar player, the keyboard player, they're playing chords. And there is a chord that is built on every single one of these notes of the scale. So you might have heard something like this. That's the underlying chord progression of Don't Stop Believing and about a million other songs. It's the E, the 1 chord. Then it goes to the 5, that's B, and then C sharp, that's the 6. To the A, that's the 4. Now all of these chords are different. We have an E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A major, B major, C sharp minor. Now we're not playing that, we're playing the roots, but you do need to know that, the underlying chords in each key. That would be used to embellish things if you wanted. Not for this bass line really, because that's a part that you must play. But if we had a chord progression that went maybe something like that, you can do some fills. All I did there was just play notes in the key. The key is E major. I expanded a bit because I know my scales in different positions. You must know that, okay? So not just one octave, know your scales everywhere. And also, I was aware of where I was. So there's the 1. There is the 5. I know all the notes underneath that. There's the C sharp. This is the 6. This is minor. I know the arpeggio. I will just briefly pause here to run through this exercise that is a great one to know. And that's just playing the arpeggios of a scale through. I have a whole lesson on this in C major, but I'll do it in E major. I can't stress how important that is. I mean, if Jimmy, you're watching this, just learn that. Just learn a major scale and how it is harmonized. What that gives you is a bunch of chords, and musicians put that into chord progressions, and that really makes up songs. Let's stay in the key of E. I'll do a few other things here. No, let's not. Let's go to another song. Let's go to Valerie. Okay, so Valerie is in a different key. It's in E flat major. So the bass line is something like that. Now, when I'm learning songs for a gig, I will listen to the original. I'll try and clock it pretty exact. I'll try and get it exactly there. But on a gig, a drummer might play slightly differently. They might go too fast, too slow. You might play it in a different style. You know, lots of bands go in a reggae style for that. You have to follow it. You can't just be a slave to the original. You need to use your ear to change things. So look, here, I'm now in the key of E flat major. So I know that shape really well. And now I am playing it quite traditionally, 1 octave. The bass player is playing a root note, but the chord is an E flat major chord. Remember I said that 1 chord is major? Same here. Then it goes to the 2 chord. Now, when you look at that lesson, or you look at my theory course, which I've got that goes through all this stuff, you'll know the 2 chord is minor, always in a major key. If we play the underlying notes, we also get a mode, but I really honestly don't think you need to know that. Just know that you're in the key of E flat major, and you're going from the 1 to the 2, which is F. And all I did there was just play notes of the key. That's all you need to do. You are playing a mode, but you don't need to know that. Just play the notes from the key. Okay, so one reason why this is useful is if you're playing that and you want to embellish, you can do something like this. So now, what did I do there? I just did the next thing that you need to know, which is that a pentatonic scale goes hand in hand with a major scale. So we're in the key of E flat major here. Know that scale inside out, and now just remove the 4th and 7th notes of it, and you're left with a 5-note scale. That's the pentatonic scale, which is also something like another classic song, covers song. You know, Sir Duke, all pentatonic. So loads of songs do the same thing. So returning to this, you need to know it in different patterns. That's just some E flat major pentatonic stuff. And because we're in that key, you can use it. Okay, that was all pentatonic stuff apart from at the end. Remember I mentioned the 2 chord, the F minor, the one I'm on now, is minor. So I just went. The first 3 notes, you know, F, G, A flat, up the octave. You learn patterns as you go. You realise, that pattern will always fit over a minor. So when you experiment and explore, you'll come up with your own thing. I say this a lot, but what I just demoed was too much. That's too busy. You know, you'll be all over the singer and they'll be distracted by you overplaying. So be careful with this powerful information. But you can use all those notes. And that comes from knowing the key and the chord progression. When he goes to the next section. Okay, look, at the end there, I end up on a B flat, still in the key of E flat, so all the notes of E flat major, starting on B flat, they all work. So we've got an A flat chord here, then we have a G minor. I know I'm whizzing through this, but you can either look at the course, look at some of the other lessons, and just have this down as something to study, because once you have it under your fingers, you'll be able to call on it as quickly as I am. I'm on a G minor. I absolutely know that G minor pentatonic, this one, fits to a G minor chord, so I can call on those notes easily. This is an A flat major 7 chord, or at least those are options to you, the arpeggio. It's like that exercise I did before in E, but I'm now doing it in E flat. See, I love doing stuff like this on a gig. I don't overplay as I'm doing in this lesson, but just every now and again. So I was on that B flat. It's a major chord. I've played it a million times. I'm on the E string, so I know that collection of notes works if I were to do a fill, right? It's the 5 chord, right? So I know that position, it works. When you learn the arpeggios of a key, as I did in E major, if I do it here in E flat major, the 1 chord and the 4 chord are major 7. The 2, the 3 and the 6 are all minor 7. And the 5, so it's a dominant chord or arpeggio. And you therefore end up with a minor 7th, a major 7th, a dominant 7th, and a minor 7 flat 5. If you don't know your theory, all of that sounds a bit complicated. It's not really, it's just that you've got a scale. Play the 1st, 3rd, 5th and 7th. You get a 7th arpeggio, which happens to be all those different ones on the different degrees of the scale. And that's just like a scientific law. You can break those rules, but musicians can then do like a, you know, a 1 to 2 chord progression like this. E flat major 7 to F minor 7. Obviously we're playing roots, but you need to know the underlying harmony and the overall key. You can do this for every song. Let's go to Hey Ya by OutKast. This is in G. Now that's not the bass line. It's kind of got a synthy, squelchy sound. But when I'm playing it live, I'm doing stuff like that. If you play for an artist, if you played for OutKast, you would probably have to play exactly the same line on a synth bass. If you're in a covers band, you do what you have to do. Maybe there's no keyboard player. Maybe there's no guitarist. I've done gigs where it's just bass and guitar and drums and singing. And it's been a weird arrangement and you have to fill out more. I have another subscriber, Jen, who was talking about this exact same thing in her band. She's playing some hip-hop songs and she needs to play more. How do you do that? Well, this is a good example here. So we're in the key of G. So it goes 1 to 4, G to C. Then it goes to the 5, and it goes to the 6. Now here's where we get a little bit weird, because the 6 is a minor chord, but in this song it's a major chord. I mentioned that those chords are always the same, but a writer can change things around, and they do that all the time. However, you use your ear. This is what I do. Right, so on the E, I do an E minor pentatonic. And it fits, it works. I'll back up a bit, I'll slow down a bit. We're in the key of G. That's G major, right? Your pentatonic goes hand in hand with your key. So G major pentatonic, which you need to know everywhere. Sorry for plugging my theory course all the time, but it's got everything in it. It's got all these shapes, pentatonic, major, natural minor, and a bunch of other stuff you won't need, Jimmy, like the Dorian sharp 4. All the modes of melodic minor, it's got that. You don't need it for this type of music. What I do want to talk about is another really simple concept that you must know for this level of stuff. Every major scale has a relative minor. You find that by jumping to the 6th note. That's E, okay? So G major and E natural minor, we can just say E minor, they are related. They're related because they both share exactly the same notes. G to G with an F sharp is the G major scale. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. This is key signatures, and understanding that, that's a theory thing you need to know. If you start from E and put that same F sharp in, you get E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. So G major, E minor, related, same notes. Also, G major pentatonic, E minor pentatonic, it's the same thing. So just went up here, did some E minor pentatonic stuff. This is a basic root. So I'm on the C now. So there's the C. That. So I've got my root. 2 across, octave. 2 across, 1 string across, 5. Know that pattern off by heart. Okay, so that can be called upon to play really on any chord apart from a diminished and an augmented, which you're not really going to get a lot in this style of music. You will sometimes, but not a lot. I'm just going to take a little tangent here to talk about something I just did there, which is another music theory concept. I mean, what is music theory? It's the understanding of music. So rhythm is very much in that. This is about the speed I'm thinking about when I'm demoing it right now. And I'm just playing around with some rhythms around that. And the rhythms are just coming out without me thinking about anything here. I've had a few questions this week quite randomly about rhythms and people struggling with it, especially 16th notes. So it's a basic thing, but you need to work on rhythm. You need your sense of rhythm to be internalized. I think like you've got harmony, melody, rhythm, really, if you think about music. And for me, rhythm is one of those things that is the one that is more internalized than anything else. You learn it and then you forget it, and then it just comes out and you just never think about it. Ideally, you want that with everything, but for me, that was rhythm. I just sort of studied it at a young age, and it was just in me. Let's take that little progression. Just a C, D, E. And this is something you could practice. I'm going about this fast now, and I'm thinking 16th notes now, which is like, we have 4 in every beat. I've got that in my head. This would be better with a drum loop or a metronome. And I'm adding ghost notes. And it sounds quite funky. And I can improvise for hours just calling upon those 16th note rhythms. So all of that is to say, rhythm needs to be at the center of your practice every single day to be able to come up with whatever's appropriate. In a ballad, that's not appropriate. It might be like... You don't need to know what rhythm that is. You just need to feel it and be able to play it accurately. The more you study rhythms, the more you'll be able to call on. Tangent over. I'm going to move to another song, Twist and Shout by the Beatles. This is also La Bamba and a million other songs. And Paul McCartney isn't playing that, but again, I don't care. It's basically in the key of D. So I'm going 5th fret, A string. I guess one music theory thing would be notes. You have to know all your notes everywhere. Here's a D. And it's just a very simple 1, 4, 5. They're all major chords. So there's my triad. D, and on G, and then on A. It's based around that. That would be a good thing for you to learn. So you've got your D, you've got your G, and you've got your A. Frets 5 of the A string and then 5, 7 of the D string. 1, 4, 5, all major. So play the same shape on each, and then just mess around. It's not going to take you long to get your ear conditioned to the pattern. That's a really, really important thing. I'm going to do a whole lesson on that soon, so I'm not going to go into it much, but patterns and ear training, really good. What's that? That's my pentatonic. Which key are we in? D. That's all D major pentatonic. McCartney didn't do that, but in the moment in a band you might want to. Quick word on transposition. I did it before, but that's when your singer goes, no, listen to me, I've got a cold today. Your singer might have the same. Can you just do it down a tone? Take everything. You know, whilst your keyboard player is reaching for that transpose button that then they might forget to switch back the next song. Has that ever happened to you? I've seen that before. We can just move around. That's one of the best things about the bass. It's easy to move patterns around. So it comes down to, again, knowing your scale and key, how that's related. Your different arpeggios, you know, the harmony. So it's 1, 4, 5, all major. You know, I would play the McCartney version and stick to all the originals, but this is just if you want to do your own thing. I reckon I'll do a part 2 to this lesson because we've got major, natural minor related, and we've got major and minor pentatonic. There are a couple of other modes I would talk about, but I think I'll do like a Dorian and Mixolydian, basically, if you're interested. Learn those two as well, you know. That's really great for R&B and soul and Motown. And Dorian for funk. That's another very, very famous cover band song, Uptown Funk, and it's D Dorian. But this lesson is getting a bit long, so I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to go one last song for this lesson, and that's Happy by Pharrell Williams. Now this is a good example, so it goes like this. There's this bit, you know. That's not played on the bass, but it's one of those things, you go to a band, and I've done so many instances of playing this song with different bands that you meet on the day, and you know, has someone learnt that part and maybe they haven't, and then you play it on the bass, even though this isn't a bass part, but you might put it in. So you use your ear to work out how that goes. We're in F minor here. So I'm always thinking, well, F minor pentatonic. And what if you want to add some stuff in? Well, you can. You can can use that F minor pentatonic. Now the chorus. D flat major 7. And it goes C minor 7. I think it does C sus 4, but let's not worry too much about that. Just stay on the C. And it goes back to F minor. So you can use the notes of the key. So that's F natural minor. You need to know that. Which incidentally is related to A flat major. That's how you find it, the third note of the minor. Start there. Get your relative major. So now I know the key, I can embellish a bit. All just notes from the scale, from the key. You can use notes outside as well, that's chromatic. And I'm just making this up on the spot. If you know the scale, you know the sound of it, you know which notes and chords you're going to. And obviously this happens the more you get experience doing this, you can just go to it. And that's the ear part of this, okay? So I know I've done a lot here. I'm going to do one more song. I know I've done a lot. I know I've thrown a lot at you, but I've only been talking about a minor key, a major key, those scales and the pentatonics. I haven't really done anything else. Maybe the chords in there as well. There's not much, really isn't. Last one. Billie Jean, which is in F sharp minor, one semitone higher than the previous one. Now you know that people always told me bridge bit. It goes like this. So it goes D major chord, but look, we're in the key of F sharp, so there's the scale. Need to know it in more than one place. I just continued there. So when I go to the D, it's not that we're in the D major key, no. There's the F sharp, go 3 notes up, we're in A major. A major and F sharp minor are the same. So that D is actually the 4 of A major. Get these notes underneath. I don't really think about that, I just think, look, this is my key, here are the notes. It comes from that scale, knowing it beyond 1 octave. And now I can go like this. I'm just playing, I'm on the F sharp here, F sharp minor. It's an F sharp minor arpeggio. It's an F sharp minor scale. That's an F sharp minor pentatonic scale. So I think the examples I've given you here, I've actually done the same thing throughout, which was to play around the notes of the scale or key and the pentatonics of that key. I know I've gone through it quite fast, and it's still a long lesson, but I have done the same things. Major scale, natural minor scale, know how they're related. Know the pentatonics of each of those. Know the underlying harmony. And again, I've got free links to lessons that you can explore this, and I've got that theory course. But really, it's not much beyond that. Then you've obviously got your rhythms, okay? It is going to be better if I do a whole lesson on rhythms, which I will do, and I can link to other rhythm lessons. But I think I'll stop there, but that's really it for now. It's just to learn those few things. And if you apply those few things to different songs, you'll see what I mean. We're just playing the same thing, just in different keys, and the rhythms are slightly different, but it all sounds incredibly rich, and not that we're playing the same thing. It's amazing, really. I teach a lot of modes and things like that. I did one on Dorian Sharp 4 the other day, which goes like this. As much as I love that, you will never, ever encounter that in a cover band gig. You will only be doing the simpler stuff. I bet some questions will arise from this, and if they do, feel free as ever to put them in the comments box below. I read them all, I reply to them all, and they also give me ideas for lessons. If something, if I did go too quickly through something or didn't explain something well enough, can do another lesson on it. So do let me know about that. I'll put links below to that theory course, which will teach you everything you need to know and more, and to some other lessons that are free that you can just expand your knowledge on all this stuff. Thanks for getting this far. If you did, it was a bit of epic lesson, this one. I'll see you next time.